Here we go. Friday Faves.
Are we going?
It's saying we're live, so I'm gonna trust it.
I think it's a good trust.
Okay, it's worked so far. So welcome back, everybody. It's Friday Faves on October 9th. I am Melissa Cady, joined by my co-host Kevin Cuccaro, and we're here at the Change Physician community on Facebook Live. You might be seeing me on my Challenge Doctor page, and or this could be a recording that you find on YouTube later. So we typically bring these Friday Faves to you to allow us to just touch on what happened this past week, which is our past, talk about what we're grateful for the present, and our future episodes that are coming up in the following week. So you want to go first, talk about what was in this past week, or would you like me to touch on that, Kevin?
I want to go first so that you can't steal it away from me.
Oh, okay, good.
Because mine's a secret Friday fave, and it actually started from you.
Oh.
Because we are friends on Facebook, and so I don't do a lot of Facebooking, and I don't post a lot on Facebook, but every once in a while I ghost on there. And you posted something about a movie, and I said, oh, if you posted about this, I better watch it. And I did. In fact, I did it yesterday. I wasn't even planning it. It was a Life on the Planet, or this David Attenborough's newest one that was on Netflix. And wow, that was really, really good. And it just gave first is David Attenborough, and who could not listen to him speaking. I have a lot of fond memories of planet Earth, and specifically the Blue Planet, because when my children were little, particularly my son, we had those DVDs, and he watched them. He was really into it and get really engaged. And there was some traumas associated with that, which we can talk about in another episode. But to see how he related, if you haven't watched it, it's on Netflix. I would highly recommend it, because it gives he kind of takes his personal story of when he started in, I don't know what you call it, going out in the middle of nowhere with a camera crew and documenting stuff.
Right.
But he starts in 1937, when I guess he was about 10 years old, and then talks about how he has seen the world change, and how we're losing wildness, and how we have impacted the earth. And yeah, it was pretty dark. I will also say in the beginning, when you're seeing this stuff, it was really, really scary and really shocking. And it was, obviously distressful to see how things go. But he does end on some really simple strategies that we can do, and kind of talks about the resilience of the earth. So I really like that. Made me think about many things in my own life. Talk to my wife about making some changes with eating habits and stuff like that. So it was pretty impactful, and that would be my favorite for the week.
Well, that was definitely one of my favorites, but you beat me to it, so.
That's right.
And I always have to give a plug out to my husband, who just did another episode, probably the longest one, but jam-packed with passion and many topics for those that are curious or interested or love Australian Football League or the NRL, the National Rugby League. He also speaks a little bit outside the bubble, so to speak. He calls it, outside of Down Under and other sports here. So really great episode. You have to check it out. You can go to outsidethesheds.com, and that's where we have our hub for our episodes, which go out to all the other podcast venues. So for you sports people that happen to be catching us on this recording, you might really like checking that out. So I have to say, a comment off of what you said with David Attenborough's really amazing special, that it reminded me, there's some parallels to the Change Physician, and whether you're a physician or not, I mean, there's so many things in our lives that sometimes we need to reflect and take control as much as we can of the things that we can control, and design our lives in a way that is in alignment with who we are, our morals, our values. We get this one life. They always talk about the hyphen in between the day you're born and the day you die. We don't know when we die, but that hyphen in between is where you fill it all with the experiences and amazing opportunities to really enrich your life. And, I think about David Attenborough's, I guess you call it documentary, talking about how we can live more sustainably and responsibly, and still have, a wonderful life and not deprive ourselves of things. And I think that parallels to especially physicians that are sometimes living in an environment or working in an environment that's not really healthy and creates, you know, suddenly your life gets before you, and 20, 30 years down the road, you realize that sometimes you're just taking it as it's given to you versus taking responsibility and designing your life that makes sense for you and who you are or your family. So, that's what we're all about at the Change Physician, is making us really stop and reflect that there are options, there's choices, and we can design our lives. And use what's at our disposal. There's so much more out there than sometimes we give ourselves credit for or realize. And so if you're not a physician and you're listening in on this, and I'm speaking of this idea of sustainability, you got to be able to reflect on your life from time to time and recognize, what are the things that I can do if things are not the way that, if I'm not happy, if I'm not content, if I'm not living up to my own expectations or my potential, then maybe reconsider the choices that we may realize that we might think we're not making choices, and it's just, we have to take it and we don't have a choice. We really do have a choice. And so Kevin and I have both been in times in our life where there's resistance to that change, but it is possible. So that was one of my favorite things, because it made me really deeply reflect about some of the things that we're doing that are harming our own earth. But it's not just the earth, it's just our own existence. And you just have to go watch it, and we can put the link in the Facebook posts where we're speaking right now, and check it out. And he's a 93-year-old man with wisdom beyond his years, and he's 93 years old. So if you're a human being that has any ounce of compassion in you, you need to go watch it. I think we need to do a better job in society of not always making the same mistakes over and over again, and actually giving respect to those who have learned things along the way. And as much as our egos want to pipe up and defend ourselves, sometimes we have to remind ourselves to just shut up and listen. So any thoughts off that, Kevin?
Well, yeah, I think the key for me was this idea of sustainability.
Yeah.
And the differences between short-term and long-term thinking. And I think that's the part that really just was disturbing to me, is people have forgotten how to think long-term. And we're under stress and life is crazy. And we know when you are under stress that your long-term decision-making gets impaired. But the fact of the matter is, we got to look at the data we have and think about what we're doing and where we're going to go to next. No one is saying you have to stop everything. I guess the part of it is this discussion around climate change in general. What we have in the United States specifically, we've forgotten the ability, or we've ignored the ability to stop thinking critically. And I think that was really distressful for me, is you're watching this and the data, and we can actually not only use data, you can use pictures, and pictures are supposed to explain things so much better. And you can see the pictures in the change. And we still have people who I think there's less of them that would say, well, climate change or this is just the way the planet works. Well, yeah, the planet has had different temperature cycles over hundreds of millions of years. And we've created this over 100 years, and you can look at this through simply the record that we have, and through the monitoring of the atmospheric changes we have. And could it be something else? Sure, but it's much more likely. The most likely scenario in this situation, Occam's razor, rather than thinking it's aliens trying to kill us by injecting CO2 in the atmosphere, maybe that could be a possibility too, is to actually look at what we've done. And we need to take this stuff seriously. And I guess it upsets me when you can't have a rational discussion about science anymore, because for whatever reason, science is seen to be a political party. Science is not a political party. I mean, it's just absurd. And then if you have kids, I'm like looking at my kids, and there was moments in time, and my daughter had just kind of slipped in behind me, and she started watching the video, and I was ashamed. And then I'm worried about my kids, and I'm thinking, well, what is their world going to be like? And it's just, we got to do something, and it's not something that we can ignore anymore. And each of us can do little teeny things. So anyway.
It's powerful.
It was really powerful. Like, the simple things like, okay, my wife's a vegetarian. I love meat. My son loves meat. My daughter dances around with the vegetarian thing. But simply diminishing the amount of meat that we eat has such a huge impact on the planet when you're looking at how much land is required to raise these cattle and pigs and everything else, and the amount of impact that has. I mean, that's okay. So eat less meat. I can do that, and from a health standpoint, it's actually usually better for you too. So I mean, we've had a number of episodes now that are going to be publishing early 2021 on dietary changes and specifically about plant-based diet and the health associated with that. So you can do something that's good for your planet and is good for your health, and actually tastes pretty good. So these are not like cutting off your hand to save the planet. These are small little things that have win-win-wins associated with it. That if we just all started thinking a little bit more about everyone, the we, rather than just me, I think we can make some change. So
yeah, I think it really we all could use reminders of eating more greens, and they don't have to be nasty. They you can have very wonderful meal, and we'll talk more about that. We've got several amazing guests coming out in January that we've already done some interviews on, and I think even just utilizing your own land, and like a micro garden for yourself. Like, it's amazing how much better things taste. I hear it all the time. Like, people that hate tomatoes from the grocery store, but when they make their own, they're like amazing. Like, whoa, this is like a totally different food. But I was astounded by just looking at the mere population growth in the last 100 years. Like that, and I know they talk about it plateauing at some point and whatnot, but still, like how much we are utilizing of the earth to sustain our current population with the kind of habits that we have. People that don't want to like look at those things and they want to ignore it, like that's just irresponsible. Like it's, everyone can have their own view, but one thing being done by millions of people has a huge impact. That's like someone saying there's no way you can save up millions of dollars from a little bit you put in an account each week or a month. It's exponential growth and utilization. So anyway, go watch that documentary. We'll put the link in there. As far as this past week, we had a couple of guests that were released. It was Dr. Anna Kabeka, who's called the Girlfriend Doctor. She's a gynecologist who has an amazing story of, even burnout, taking a year off and coming back into, doing other things to help large numbers of people and in the online space. And so that journey is, I think, fascinating, and really some amazing wisdom that she's learned along the way that she shares. I have so many trailers even off that episode, including the second one, Dr. Joe Pecoraro, who lost, I think, over 100 pounds. He's a vascular surgeon who now is into so much to do with overall health and wellness and coaching, and very inspirational gentleman. And any thoughts off those, Kevin?
Great guess. The thing about Anna's episode, there's a lot of depth to that, and my concern is someone may listen to that and they're going to miss some, right? I mean, because we both kind of dabbled in the online thing, so there's some terminology in there, but there's a lot of depth in that episode. Like, if you want to just kind of get the real basics of internet business and some of the key points of it, it would be a very good one to listen to. And if you kind of know some of the terminology, you kind of have a little bit, you've been in the internet a little bit, she's done remarkably well and has a powerhouse business, which I don't think we highlighted, but a powerhouse business. So really good there. And then Joe's interview, of course, was obviously really good. He was recommended by Linda Cox, who was our, when did Linda come on?
Episode 28 was hers.
Episode 28. So he was her mentor and how she got involved with this stuff. And then to have him come on and kind of talk about his journey and he's one of those physicians that is always going to, vascular surgeon, went into it, really loved this and then did this and then found this and he really, really loved this and then, changed his life through his being coached and changing his diet like it was at least 100 pounds. I almost want to say it was like 200 pounds. It was a massive amount of weight that he's lost and kept it off for a long time. So another really, really, really good episode to listen to there.
Yeah, and those are episodes 30 and 31. And what we have this coming week is episodes 32 and 33. Dr. David Draginas, he's a returning guest, and he's talking about how to start a podcast as a physician. So very insightful on how that can be done. And the second person is of course, Dr. Anna Kabeka, she came back as a returning guest as well, and how you can hire well in the online space. So a little bit deeper dive into her online work that she does.
Yeah, and picking out things like virtual assistants. So how do you leverage time? If you are, what can you, how do you, because that's in this virtual world, it can get intimidating to hire people, but how do you find the people that are really good workers and that would work well with you? So a good episode on that as well, and her experiences in the online space and picking the right people and investing. I guess that's the other kind of key there. Really investing your time, effort, and money into something that provides something on the back end, which is, I think it's weird as physicians, I think we tend to forget that. We think we have to do everything. And that was a good reminder of that episode as well. What's your superpower? And if it's not, if you find someone else to do it for you so that you save time and you can do, I kind of think about it like yard work. It's like, if you hate yard work and you're a physician, and so you have that income, and so, you have to, work really hard and don't spend on anything. If you hate yard work and you have the income, and you're already pressed for time, why wouldn't you pay for a lawn service or a yard service that could do a better job than you can in an hour, or usually less, that you're going to pay not tens of thousands of dollars on, but really maybe, depending on the size of your yard, $100, $150, $200 if you have a big yard, and you get all that time back, which you can never recover. It's like, just think about this stuff.
So you just brought up a Friday fave that I didn't even think about until you said
yard work.
Yes. So I actually like doing lawn work. I need vitamin D. I tend to run low on that. So I like to get a little exposure to sun. And yes, I don't wear any sunblock because I'm not out there forever. And I bought a Greenworks. I have no relation to them at all. Electric push mower. Because our other one, it's a riding one, whatever, it died. The batteries died. So, but I used that for like 5 or 6 years. Anyway, so this one was very affordable. It was on sale on Amazon, so had it delivered in 2 days. And I went outside. It was so simple. I just push the button and I just start going, and I can listen to a podcast. So it allows me to get out there and it works really well. Huh?
Is it a mulcher? Self-mulching?
Yeah, well, I can put the bag on, and then I have the other option, just let it fall on the lawn. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's how I use it.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't have any fancy terms. I just know how to push the thing and make it go and cut my lawn.
Well, I hate yard work, and I think I always hated it. And I probably hate it because I recognize I have massive psychological reactions to anybody telling me to do something, including myself. If I'm like, you need to do this, sometimes I'm like, well, screw you. I'm like, this is me. I'm telling myself I have to do this, right? I just hate it. And that was one of the things I used to, go mow the lawn. I hated mowing the lawn, hated it. It was I just didn't enjoy the experience. And I couldn't stand dumping the grass out. It sounds like such a stupid thing, like emptying the bag. I just hated the smell of the grass. I hated getting the dirty stuff all over me. But the new mowers on the Friday Fave thing, because we have an electric mower, even though I hate yard work, that mulches. So you don't have to put the basket on, and it's like 90% of the awfulness for me is you don't have to do that anymore. So
yeah, I don't even see the grass. It just goes right back down where it came from, and
giving back. You're giving back.
Give it back to the earth. Sustainable. No, it comes right back full circle. So yeah, I love it, and it's a good addition, and I'm glad I got it, and it's a fraction of the cost of the other bigger mower we had. And if I don't mind someone else doing it if I don't have time for it, but if I have time for it, I'm fine with it. The only thing I hate about the outside is dealing with flying type of insects that can sting you, hence bees, and more of the wasps than the bees. They don't bother me much. But
do you have rabid wasp out there or something?
well, we've got some, yellow jackets or, red wasps, whatever those are called. But yeah, I tend to, for any animal lovers out there, I do kill those things when they grow a nest if it's within range that I can get them. But yeah, I mean, it's just, I just try to, I have internal anxiety around them, and I have to calm myself down, because I'm thinking that they could probably sense my anxiety and tension that they're around, and they're probably going to want to sting me just because I'm.
Have you been stung a lot or something? Do you have like trauma?
No,
Trauma
I think I have a little phobia for it, but but the one time many years ago, over like 10 years ago, I was trying to be the stoic, no problem, I could be around the bees, when I was at a Sonic and there was a whole bunch of the juice that's filled with sugar, and I'm standing around there and I was wearing shorts and I'm just sitting there and I'm like, okay, I'm okay. I'm like talking myself through this, silently. Okay, and even told the person next to me, okay, I'm going to try to be calm and not run away. What happens? I get stung and I swat at it. And then when I swat at it, it goes up my shorts and stings me again. And so I am traumatized and run away from the standing, where you're putting your order in, where you stand up, not in the car thing, running back to the car and running frantic. And the people that working at Sonic are laughing. I can see them through the window. And they come out and they bring me a cup of ice. They figured out what happened. So I'm having Sonic bring me a cup of ice because I got stung by a bee twice. The only time I've been stung, and I'd already had a phobia of them before I got stung. So I've just, made it worse. So there you go. That's for the rest of the world to know. I've been stung by a bee twice in one setting, and I still don't like it.
I had to ask because I always learn, don't ever panic around bees. Don't ever panic around bees. And it always worked really well for me. The one time I got stung, was because I felt something on the back of my neck. I thought it was a spider, and I put my hand over on it and it stung me. And then I didn't get stung again for years. So I've always been like, okay, no big deal. I'm not scared of them. But there are people who for whatever reason, a past life must have done bad things. And apparently my son is one of them. So my poor kid, my poor son, like the first time he was stung was probably like 9 months old. They somehow got into one of our living rooms in the house we were living at. And, but as he got older, I'm like, don't panic, you'll be fine. The poor kid, he's like 4 years old. Bees are flying. I'm like, don't panic. The things would just land on him and sting him. He's not doing anything. I'm like, okay, all right, you've got an excuse. You do what you need to do, because whatever reason, these stupid things just, I don't know.
Well, mosquitoes love me. I'll tell you that. That's for sure.
So you're a good person to be around then when there's lots of mosquitoes.
Yeah, I just found out a friend of mine hanging out doing a driveway happy hour, because that's, the only way I've seen a few friends a few times in 2020 after March 15th. Apparently they don't like her. And I'm like, great.
Like her.
So I'm all candy for these things. Anyway, but we used to get some in our house, and I finally, I love doing outdoorsy stuff. So I'm getting up on this little platform trying to look, and I realized that the sealant along and this is after having a couple people check the roof, trying to figure out where these things are coming from. And I realized that the little lip of brick at the bottom of the window, that it's I guess with shifting, and you have hot weather here, who knows, but there was a section around the window that was, and I'm assuming I've fixed it now because I basically put some more sealant there. And I think that they were sneaking in those little crevices, and it always seemed to be the same room that these wasps would find their way in our house. Like, this is just ridiculous. For someone like me that's I can't stand them. Yeah, so hopefully that fixed it. But anyway.
And I like bees. I can't stand wasps. I think those things are just evil.
Yeah, I think the bees are a little bit more pleasant, and as long as you're not swatting and doing something overt to them, unless they're killer bees, that would be a different situation. I'm okay with the cutesy little ones that are around the flowers, but not the wasp.
Cutesy little ones.
Yeah, from afar. Cutesy from afar. Anyway. Afar.
And now we have the murder hornets now, apparently, in
yeah,
Washington State, so it's all going good.
No. But. All right. Well, I'm sure people don't want to hear about us talking about stinging insects, but that's our Friday faves for October.
Friday faves. Oh, and we already did Who's Coming Up. So
yep.
Yeah, that'll be exciting. Oh, and did want to say, so Dave Draginas on podcasting, that's Dave Draginas of Doctors Unbound. So if you know anything about the physician podcasting community, he's done worked really hard, been extraordinarily consistent with publication of his podcast, and is also in the middle of doing a podcast launch. So helping other physicians to launch their own podcasts through the Physician Podcasting Network. If you're interested in that, and that should also be that'll be discussed in his episode as well. So pretty exciting stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, until next time, we are your Changed Physician podcasting community. I'm Melissa Cady with Kevin Cuccaro, and we look forward to seeing you on our next Friday Faves. Go ahead and check out the episodes coming up or any prior episodes. And if you want to become part of the community at The Changed Physician, go to thechangedphysician.com. Take care.
Take care, folks. Click, click, click.
Oh, I freaked myself out because I hit the, oh, I think we're still going. Hold on.
Still going? Click, click, click. Did you stop recording or something?